Hi, everyone. I'm back. I'm flesh and bone. Made it through Snowmageddon up here in Wisconsin. It was crazy. That's where I was. We plow and shovel. Everybody does the neighborhood as best possible, all we can. And three guys pretty much plow. Danny, which he has health issues and can't always do it, but he was out there trying. And Bob and Don, and they plow all the driveways in the neighborhood. And I do the shoveling, pea paths for the dog. They're little. They gotta have them. When you get snow like we get up here, they gotta have them. And the deck and the steps, and I got 40 steps going down to the ice rink. And then there's another thing, plowing that ice rink. When that snow was coming down an inch an hour, Don just literally stayed out there plowing. And by George, he did it. That ice rink is still good. Praise Jesus. But I'm back. In between snow, shoveling, running to the hospital to run emergency dialysis, and plowing, I'm back. I lived through it. Somebody didn't smash into me on the road and kill me on my way to the hospital to save someone. And so this story number 10, in God, Faith, and Reason by Dr. Michael Savage, and he is a doctor. He's a doctor in like herbal medicine. And he's traveled all over the place when he was practicing that. Wow, I would love to pick his brain for an hour in a pub somewhere. So we're back to this question for this story. Where is God? It's kind of been a theme, this whole book. Where is God? People seek to find God in as many places as there are on earth, and in as many ways. I recall one of the pages from the great book, Zorba the Greek. I remember they made a film of Zorba the Greek, and who was that actor that played him? I liked him. That'll come to me. Zorba the Greek by Nikos Kazantzakis. Kazantzakis. I am probably murdering that name. It's the story about a monk who climbs a mountain in Greece with the chief character, Zorba. And when they get to a certain point and they're relaxing, the priest tells Zorba a story about a woman he met in one of the villages. She was an outcast. She was a widow. And for some reason, the people looked down upon her, thinking that she was a loose woman, so to speak. The long and the short of it is the priest spent the night with her, had sex with her, probably for the first time in his life, and he told Zorba that when dawn came the following morning, he was closer to God than he had ever been in his life. If that doesn't give you a lot to think about, I don't know what does. Well, that's one way people find God. I guess it's through transcendental experiences, whether they be sex, drugs, music, etc. People see God in their own way every day. Some people say they stand on a shoreline, listening to the waves pound against the shore, and feel closer to God. Or they walk on a beach or in a forest. That's the famous song from many years ago about hearing the cry of a newborn baby and knowing why you believe what you do. Those are the ways people seek communion with the greater spirit to which we are all connected. After all, what are we? In addition to being blood, the bone, the vessels, the tissue, we are spirit. And everything we come into contact with resonates on or with this spirit, for better or for worse. We know that some people can bring us down or give us a headache. Some can bring us up. Some can make us happy. Some can make us sad. Some can elevate us. What is that about? It's about the fact that we're like tuning forks. and we resonate with other energy forces. What an interesting concept. Tuning forks, other forces. Someone else's spirit touches us. How do we sing? What sound do we make? The other energy forces can be other people, a pounding surf, an animal, a dog, a cat, a bird, a turtle. But the ultimate tuning fork in the sky is what we're talking about in this book. How can we tap into that resonance? Some people go to church, and in joining a congregation, they are better able to resonate with the higher power. I remember when I was a young boy, I asked about my grandfather who died long before I was born. I wonder if this one is the one that was the atheist. The word came down that my grandfather was not a religious man. He didn't go to temple to pray. Instead, he could be out in nature with his back to a tree and talk to God. In many ways, the same is true for me today. That must be his other grandpa, because I remember he said his one grandfather was an atheist, and atheists don't talk to God. They talk to themselves. He's inserted a verse, Proverbs 13, verse 20. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but the companions of fools shall smart for it. You're known by the company you keep. Little story number 11, God and Nature, and part 2 of the book. Yay! Part 2! Why did God create the world? What is man's role in creation? Lately for me, it seems to be shoveling snow. Does God intervene, and how much? Yeah, I think he does sometimes. Or he makes his presence known, but sometimes I think he does it all the time, but we're so stupid and thick-headed. We don't see it. Now, I don't mean stupid in a mean way. You just are ignorant of it. What is the relationship between God and science? I can tell you that. He created it. Beginning and end of story. He created it. We're trying to figure it out. I wrote this book because I decided to get closer to God again. I'm at the same phase of my life I was decades ago when I moved so far away from God and became so cynical that my life started to unravel in a certain way. My head started to unravel. That's what happens. And it was only by getting closer to God that I was able to get it all together again. That's when my life and career took off. I wouldn't say that if it weren't true. It's not as though my life is unraveling again, but I wasn't feeling connected to the Spirit as much as I had before. And I wanted to be. I knew how to do it. I know how to be with. I know how to be there. It's an interesting story. A few months back, before I was due to have some dental work done, I was in LA. I came back home and was not feeling good. I had the flu. On a Wednesday night, I had a dream that I was in a huge convocation of religious Jews. You know what? Sometimes when you have the flu, you have the most amazing God experiences, because try and tell me this is not true. When you're sick, really sick, you pull away from everything else and you talk to God. Maybe we're vaccinating ourselves from God. On Wednesday night, I had a dream that I was in a huge convocation of religious Jews. I was wandering around looking for a seat, but couldn't find one. There were tens of thousands of people. It was an almost biblical setting. Everyone had a seat but me. Finally, I found a seat and sat down. Right where God wanted him to, I bet, too. The very next morning, I received an email from one of the most prominent leaders of the Chabad Orthodox religious group in America. I had rarely spoken with him previously. I think I had met him once. Out of the blue, he told me they were having a meeting the next day in Los Angeles of 80 of the top rabbis in California. I'm talking about the heavy-duty biblical guys. There were no other attendees who were not rabbis, but he was inviting me. I had no idea why they had thought of me. I told him I considered it a high honor, but I couldn't go. I had just returned from LA, and the next day I had to go for a bone implant. So I did not attend the conference, but I'm telling you, it was weird. I know that by my wanting to reach out to my spiritual road and get back to being connected with my spirituality, I must have contacted some kind of vibration in the universe that has come back down to this plane and had an immediate reverberation in my life. That's how it works. Once you tune in or you contact the spiritual core of your own being, it resonates with the higher power, and the higher power resonates back down to the earth and does things for us. I don't know, but I sense that's how it works. There's a resonance factor, the tuning fork. Story 12. This is as far as we're going today. The amulet. A very special thing has occurred. I'm holding an amulet in my hand. Do you know what an amulet is? I think I do. Christians, they don't believe in amulets. They think they're anti-God. That probably would depend on the Christian. They don't understand that some amulets bring you closer to God, not farther away. Oh, I would say that I would understand that if that amulet had, say, holy water in it. As I said before, for years Catholics in America had little plastic statues of St. Christopher in their cars, then the statues gave away to dream catchers. That was the end of America as far as I knew it. Those statues were icon effigies the Catholics had. They didn't make them less Catholic, did it? What about wearing a cross? Is that not a sort of amulet, a protection against evil? It is. But some people wear the cross to mock Christians. Some people wear the cross upside down, which is absolutely anti-Christian in how, I believe it was St. Peter was crucified, because St. Peter was crucified just as Jesus was. Only St. Peter said, I'm not worthy to die the same way. Hang me upside down. What I'm getting at is somewhat related to the St. Christopher medal thing. When Americans drove around in Dodge Darts and other big American cars in the 1970s, there were St. Christopher statues all over America. Suddenly we woke up in the 1990s and there were dream catchers hanging off the mirrors. Every girl in the Bay Area with chlamydia was driving around with a dream catcher, hoping the dream catcher would cure her. It didn't work. Chlamydia, if you don't know, is a sexually transmitted disease. A while back, I was somewhere I hadn't been in years. It was a house I used to live and work in. For 16 years, I had done radio shows out of that home. When I was a local host, it took me years to get the local station to permit me to do a remote broadcast out of my house. I had to argue and beg for it for years to let me put in a home studio. Then when I did, I wound up feeling more isolated than I ever had in my life. And I dreamed of being back at the radio station. There's something about the stink of the garbage can in the studio, the stink of perfume that people would leave there, that could blind you. One of the reasons I like a home studio is that I'm a germophobic person. I'm not. Just wash your hands, people. I never got the flu in there. It's me and the dog. He doesn't get the flu. Again, go out and get the flu. Get it. Get sick. You'll stop talking to people and you'll have an intimate talk with God while you're sick. And that's okay. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Don't worry about it so much. Go out and get the flu. So after the renovation, I moved back into the old house and the old home studio. Naturally, things had been left there, including paintings, pictures, photographs, some of the curtains. I found stuff that I had long forgotten. One night I stayed there during a rainstorm. I wanted to be away from the bay. It was too noisy, the pounding, crashing surf, wet and wild. I would love that. In a box I had stored, I found an ivory object inscribed in Hebrew. The back was a cheap sort of metal, like a silver, and there were tinkling things hanging from it. I knew it was an amulet from the Middle East. I think I had bought it in Israel many years before. I had bought 2 of them, as a matter of fact. I don't even know what was on it. I remember when my mother was alive, I showed her the amulet. She never really related to anything I did. For some weird reason that I never understood until recently, she looked at that amulet and said, "That's very interesting that you brought that back from Israel." "What is it?" She touched it, and I saw some electricity go through her. Until I found it again, I had forgotten about that. I had put the amulet aside. I had left it in a box and forgotten it. Did you ever have that feeling? Like when my brother was sick and dying of cancer, I was visiting him. I miss those days. I will miss him forever. And I got up to hug him before I left. And I never asked him if he felt it, but I did. There was like a spark that either jumped from him to me or me to him. I'm not sure. But it went between us. Just before we hugged, just a second before we hugged. I remember thinking at the time, I hope Jesus is sending some healing to my brother Jeff. I wish I would have asked him if he would have felt that. But I believe him. I believe him when he said he saw some electricity go through his mother. One night after returning from a pub, I ripped a muscle in my neck. I had hurt my neck years before, and a masseuse had almost destroyed it. So much for the healing touch. I never let that woman near me again. She's a monster. I got over that. Then I hurt the other side of my neck. You're on a bad roll. In the house I've been telling you about, there's an exercise machine. I hate exercise machines. They're inhuman. Normally, I confine my regimen to natural exercises such as push-ups, sit-ups, bicycling, etc. But for some weird reason, I wanted to get into shape again. And I started pulling down on the pull-down bar on that inhuman machine. I must have ripped the muscle again. The pain was excruciating. Michael, you cannot start lifting 50 pounds. Just because you left lifting 50 pounds, when you come back years later. But I wouldn't even take an aspirin for it. I'm stoic when it comes to that kind of pain. I don't want to start in with pills. I looked at the amulet and said to myself, wait a minute, hold on. I don't believe in magic, but I believe in God. Was it a coincidence that I found that amulet from the Holy Land that I must have bought in 1978? I don't even remember exactly where I bought it. I think it was from a Yemenite peddler in a marketplace in Jerusalem. Probably bought it from Jesus and didn't even know it. I bought 2 of them. As I say, my mother noted it, even though she was not very religious. But I know there's some kind of mystical streak in my family line on her side. Many women have clairvoyant abilities, can see things others can't see. I've done that. I've gotten dreams from God telling me the future, and they've come true. I was in meditative prayer, deep meditative prayer, 3 years before my granddaughter Brittany was born. I was in that deep meditative prayer, and it felt like I had an out-of-body experience and was just pulled somewhere, which I don't know where I was pulled. And when I got to where I was pulled, all I was shown was the face of a baby, the most beautiful baby I had ever seen in my life. And then I kept searching for that baby. And my brother, Mark, had twin babies. It wasn't either of those babies. And then my daughter had her very unique, miraculous birth of my first grandchild. And there was that face. That's why you can't tell me there is no God. You can't tell me there is no God. Who else can show you the face of your grandchild 3 years before they're born? Back to the story. Many women have clairvoyant abilities. What gives them that extra power of seeing? Where does it come from? Well, it's inherited, it's genetic, okay, they inherited it, usually from their mother's line, but not always. You can call it many things. If you work on the dark side, it's called witchcraft. If you work on the good side, it's not called witchcraft, right? Amulets of any kind can be put to either good or evil use. Now, you may be a skeptical and very rational person who doesn't believe in any of this crap. Michael, you called it crap. You may say it's nonsense, but do you carry anything around with you for good luck? Do you carry anything on the airplane? Yeah, I carry prayers. I have specific prayers I say whenever I go on an airplane, and then I have no fear and I enjoy the ride. Did any of you carry anything into battle that you believe protected you? Again, prayers, yeah. 1,000 angels to my right side, another 1,000 to my left. You bet. My guardian angel behind me, whispering God's guidance into my ear. Oh my gosh, yes, I have prayers. That's what I'm talking about. For many years, I was into herbal medicine. For many years, I wrote books on healing. I was in clinical practice as a healer for only a few years after I received my doctorate. From about 1978 to 1980 or 81, I wasn't ready for it then. Now, if I get sick, I go only to medical doctors. I try to heal myself to avoid the need for modern medicine. But once I have an acute condition, I use modern medicine. Obviously, I take tons of the right vitamins and use herbal medicine when I need to. I've always known since I was a young man that I have healing powers. Some of us have them, some don't. I don't mean clinical or technical. I'm talking about actual physical, spiritual healing powers. That comes from Jesus, and you have to invite it in. I've had that feeling. I've had that kind of healing. Well, the unique places you find the healing power of God. In the sauna at the Y in Marshfield was where I first found it. And it's true. Reach out. Reach out to the healer. Reach out to Jesus. I'm talking about actual physical, spiritual healing powers. Now, I have avoided this part of my being for a long time for many reasons. I don't want to wind up being accused of or becoming a fake guru. Let me be very clear about that. You can easily take your own Kool-Aid here, and you can wind up on a ranch in Antelope, Oregon. Oh, that's right, Oregon. I have to say that correctly, or my cousins in Oregon will be mad at me. With 25 Rolls Royces and 50 women, and then have to flee the state for Denmark. So I must be very careful of my own strengths and powers. I guess he's talking about his influence on the public because he does have a big influence. And, I suppose a person doesn't think about it. That carries a lot of responsibility. And I'm really sure a lot of our actors and actresses don't consider that. Or if they do, they're trying to lead us in satanic ways. You know, and I know that in this world, but for the grace of God, you or I could have wound up a homeless person in the gutter instead of who we are. But for the grace of God. Am I right or wrong? Do you think everything you have in your life, all the blessings you have, are there only because of yourself? Oh, that gets into man God worshiping atheism. It's because God's power and God's will. I've known this all my life. What I'm saying to you from my perspective is also true in reverse. That poor, unfortunate person in the street, and I'm sorry, that was my dog barking. Ellie, quiet, it's storybook time. You're supposed to lay on the floor and snore. Here, just wait. All right, come here, baby. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come and say hi to everybody. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on, baby. Come here. You can hear her prancing. Come here. Here she is. The dog who usually snores while I'm reading. She's wide awake and she hears some noises at the neighbors, so she's barking. She's got to protect me. This is my Ellie. Okay, now get back down. Try and be quiet. We're reading a story. Find where I was. What I'm saying to you from my perspective is also true in reverse. That poor unfortunate person in the street could have been you. It's a matter of chance. Things happen to people. Who can say what makes a person down on his luck, or why something goes wrong in her life, or why a child gets cancer, or a brother, or a brother-in-law, or a niece, or a nephew? I can't. I have no knowledge about any of that. Let me go back to the amulet I found. I bought 2 of them in Israel in the 1970s, put them aside, and paid no attention to them for decades. Then I found one right after I had pulled a muscle in my neck, picked it up and said, I know this thing has power. I put it on my neck and I said, I don't believe in magic, but I believe in God. He has inserted at this particular point another piece of scripture, Leviticus 20, verse 27. A man also, or a woman, that divineth by a ghost or a familiar spirit, shall surely be put to death. Where are you going with this, Michael? I stayed there in bed holding it to the muscle that was ripped, and I have to tell you, from the bottom of my heart, the pain subsided within 3 to 4 minutes. It came back the next morning. I can hear the non-believers saying, it's mind over matter. Don't be stupid. Come on, you're a man of science. Don't be a fool. What do you believe in that for? I decided that night that I'm going to keep trying this thing on people in my life who are sick. As I write this, I can feel the heat right now because I just put it on my neck. I can feel the whole heat of my body in this thing. I know it has tremendous power. It's a secret thing. I know these are Yemenite amulets. I can tell by the design of the jewelry and what's on the little hanging trinkets. Now, you never see Jews in America with this. They're modern Jews. They don't believe in any of this stuff. I don't know what they believe in, but that's their business. Each person's different. One day I called a rabbi known for mysticism and said, I need to be some rabbis who are into mysticism, I told him. Some problems I was having in my life, and I asked him to do something for me. He said, no, Michael, you're so powerful. You're the rabbi. You have to do it for yourself. He said, you speak to God. Would you like to have someone tell you that? Not long ago, I called him again. He was so excited to hear from me. I had sent him an email picture of the amulet for him to translate the Hebrew. He said to me, Michael, listen to what is written on the amulet in the Hebrew. It's the blessing of Joseph. It says, you are my son, and the evil eye cannot hurt you. You are like the fish, and no evil eye can get to you. If you believe in God, no evil eye can touch you. When you get conceited, the evil eye can touch you. Wow, I would wear that. He also said, tell all your listeners today that if they have had luck in their life and they are rich people or they're wealthy or they're doing well, to watch out for conceit. The minute they are filled with conceit, the evil eye will touch them. Yeah, I'm so conceited. I come here with no makeup on, and gray hair. Am I about to go shoveling clothes? Remember that movie, The Devil in It, and he said vanity, my favorite scent? I'm working against that. Oh, watch out for conceit. The minute they are filled with conceit, the evil eye will touch them. He continued, this is the most important thing that I have to tell you, because it so happens that what you told me today about that amulet is, by coincidence, Michael, the exact weekly portion of the Torah to Jewish people. Passage 49:22, blessings of Joseph. Don't flaunt your wealth, or people will be jealous of you. You are my sons, and the evil eye cannot hurt you. You are like the fish, and no evil eye can get you. And that's where we leave off. That's a beautiful reading. I really like that reading. That would comfort me as much as that prayer. 1,000 angels to my right, another 1,000 to my left, my guardian angel behind me. And it goes on. Jesus ahead of me, drawing me forward. The Holy Spirit above me, giving me the strength to move. And the firm ground, the rock, the foundation of Jesus on which I stand. It's a powerful prayer. I love that prayer. Well, I guess we're done. It's time to end the stream. I could stay here and talk to you forever, especially today, because when I end this stream, I am shoveling little white stuff in minus something degree weather. So much to look forward to. Alrighty. Goodbye, everyone. I love you all. God's blessings to you.